Hey Fit Fam, Coach Ryan from Team Flex. We're going to get down here talking about the Kentucky Muscle Grand Prix Cincinnati Championships, all of the bikini classes from this event we are going to review today that are the open classes, Class A, B, C, D, and that is what we're about to do. Break it down in every which way, talk about the placings, talk about the criteria, where things are heading for Bikini 2025, and what you need to know right now. If you want to be a bikini competitor, do your best on stage at the NPC level for sure, because this is an NPC video today. Let's get some real insight and some real knowledge and some real information that's going to make your prep even better, make your place better, and that's what we do on this channel. So subscribe if you're new here. Hang out. Let's go. All right, so Class A right here on the screen. This class contains 3 athletes here, and this is Katie. Okay, she's the class winner. This is Michelle over here taking second, and this is Mia over here taking third. Now, Katie here is our overall winner at this event. So she won out of all the other class winners in this event as well that we will review today. She's in Class A, and she wins this class. So let's dive in. Bikini criteria. We know it's all about the hourglass shape, created from the upper body shoulder development, primarily creating that roundness, that fullness, a dramatic taper into the waist here, and then muscle in the glutes, the quads, and the hamstrings that kind of, exemplifies that physique in a symmetrical way, creates the hourglass look. You'll see all 3 of these athletes are going to have that, all clearly bikini competitors. I did do a video on Fit Model for this event here, so if you want to see the difference between bikini and Fit Model, go watch that one. Very, very clear differences on stage today. And with that, what we see in bikini consistently is that muscle continues to be the primary source of being rewarded here. Okay, so overall, bit more muscle structure in the shoulders, a little bit more fullness there. Tapers into the waist good here. Conditioning's very on point. Flat stomach is what judges want to see. If you have a little bit of an oblique line, this happens when you get to stage level condition. Not required per se, but it is something a lot of athletes showcase. For her from the front, we have a good overall glute structure. You can see the upper glute is clearly developed. This is a key point. Judges look for this in bikini for sure, and it shows a lot from the back. And then her hamstrings and her quads do match development quite well. So realistically, she pulls off this look from the front pretty undeniably. If she wants to continue to move on and try to get pro cards, so on and so forth, going to need to add more fullness to this physique overall, a little bit more in the shoulders, a little more in the glutes, the quads, and hamstrings. But for sake of this, it's a pretty slam dunk look from the front. Obviously, when we get to the back, we'll see the full story, as I always say. Michelle over here, she has a good overall shape. It ties in well to her waistline. Very narrow waist, which is a great effect for bikini. Lower body development seems to be symmetrical and on point. Where she is different and, not winning this class appears to be in, the development. So not as much into the shoulders, maybe a little bit more there would have helped her out. And then lower body wise, the upper glute appears to be a little bit flattened here. So maybe adding some more density of muscle into that upper glute. Overall though, very good symmetry in the lower body and good conditioning here. She could be on the cusp of being a tad too lean in the midsection. It's hard to tell exactly from here, but overall I would say very complete look, very close from this front. We can see though that Katie does have a little bit more muscle development overall, which tends to be a clear message in bikini these days from judges and events and how they're going. Definitely, want to have more muscle on your frame to create that shape overall. And then we look over here at Mia, and, you can see where that can also get kind of pushed a little bit too far for the criteria. So Mia has definitely the biggest development of shoulders on this stage. We can see that clearly. A little bit more of that lat development as well. She just has a lot more muscle, maybe a little thicker in the waist again, just from the muscle. And lower body wise, it's all there, but her quads and her hamstrings look to be a little bit dominant compared to the glutes. So she's actually just a bit too muscled for this class. I mean, for the bikini division at this lineup at least. That's probably why she's placing third, which is last in this class. Definitely very developed, a lot more muscle, that fullness, that size, that looks to be probably, you could indicate that might need to go to a different division, figure things like that, or just resize it. But either way, in this group, definitely a little bit too muscular, which is something interesting we're seeing in bikini right now, where a lot of the very upper body dominant look is getting put away. It's getting pushed away. It's not being favored on really any stages, even the pro levels. So Very key to remember. Your key to bikini physique is going to be bringing your perfect symmetry up, down, left, right, hourglass shape across the board without too much muscle, without being too lean, and all of that as well. By the way, if you need help figuring this out, you don't even know where your physique stacks up, I do offer a free 7-day coaching trial. You can hit the link in my bio and train with me one-on-one free for 7 days. No obligation to sign up, no credit cards, nothing goes in there. It's literally just 1,000 times better of an experience. If you watch my videos and you're like, wow, that makes a lot of sense. I learned so much here. That's great that I learned this. Well, let me teach you some stuff real one-on-one, okay? Come do the free trial, and you can check that out. It's a great opportunity, and you just hit the link right there in the description, and I'll see you on the other side. All right, so from the back, oftentimes we get the full story here. Again, pretty on par with what we see at a bikini NPC level. You know, a lot of variance, but a lot of similarities. For Katie, what we can see, you know, shoulder shape overall tapers in pretty well here, comes down into the glute development of the upper glute, overall glute development, quads, hamstrings, everything matches. Not a super developed tie-in zone going on here, but pretty, again, on par with this division. It does seem interesting to look over here, though, at Michelle and see, you know, Michelle's got this shoulder shape, it tapers in. She's got a lot of glute development upper-wise here, so it's interesting that it was a little bit flattened in that pose from the front, but here she's definitely got it. She has a little bit tighter of a tie-in and overall a little bit more symmetry. I do think her pose kind of throws off her symmetry of her lower body, though. It makes her lower body look a little bit dominant, makes her upper body look a little too small. Katie here, you know, she looks a little bit more to be symmetrical, at least. Maybe not as much of a dramatic, you know, lower body structure going on. We're not getting as much of that tie-in, but that is being favored in this lineup for whatever reason. So a little bit of a softer look, a little bit more of a symmetrical look, not as dominant in the lower body, still has a lot of muscle. And, you know, it's interesting to see that the softer looks in bikini continue to be favored right now this season. For whatever reason, I think the criteria has shifted with the introduction of Fit Model, trying to get more athletes on those stages, you know, trying to get more athletes competing in Fit Model. It makes sense that the criteria pulls down just a bit, too, in bikini and in wellness to, again, bring more athletes into the sport. That's the entire point of Fit Model. And this, you know, I think we're seeing that play out, especially at regional levels here. All right, so let's look at Mia. So Mia, definitely the most developed upper body. As I stated, we can clearly see that. I mean, this is starting to give a figure-esque competitor look here. Definitely a lot of shoulder size, lat size, arm size. Overall, just not, you know, the bikini division. It's just too much muscle here. So that's a key factor for her. A lot of quad development, hamstring development, and the glute structure doesn't really specifically, you know, match where the quads and hamstrings are or the upper body. So definitely would need more upper glute, overall glute development, pull through a little bit more of that tie-in. The reason you see basically no tie-in here is not a lot of development there. So very developed in certain ways and under in others, which again, pretty common to see in bikini. Let's go here now. This is our Class B from this event. We have our class winner here, Amber. We have our class second place, in other words, Alicia. And then we have over here, Haley in third. So this is, again, pretty on point with what you see at NPC level. Another height class. Let's review it. Best hourglass on the stage, I think you can pretty much easily see, is definitely Amber, right? Amber's got that shoulder development, very good taper into the waist, lower body that balances right back out. And overall, that's a pretty complete symmetrical look for her. So really, again, being echoed, you know, that your muscle and your shape is key. This narrow waist is so key. A lot of competitors over the years have forgotten about focusing on keeping the midsection tight. You know, you start to see a lot of that in the division start to exemplify with more rectangular looking up and down physiques. Well, it seems to be getting, again, really prioritized right now. Very narrow waist and also good shoulder shape fullness everywhere in bikini division. So really a nice slam dunk look for her in this class. You know, her abs very flat here, not over lean though, not over soft. Pretty on par with criteria, 100%. So clear class win for her. Looking over here at Alicia, she's definitely leaner. We can see that throughout the board. You can start to see a little bit of feathering in her shoulders here, a little bit, you know, more of the six-pack action going on in her abdominals, some lines down here. She does have a good muscle structure. It's not as full. It's not as complete. It's not as dramatic of a waist taper here, and that's a major factor. So those things, you know, I think, again, judges went for a little bit more of a full look, a little bit of a softer look. And, you know, that is a thing that we're seeing echoed on stages right now. Looking over here, Class B, third place in this group out of 3, so last place, in other words. We see Haley does not have a ton of that shoulder development. Overall, good taper, still a very on par criteria physique for what you would see at the NPC level, but it's not the same muscle development up top that we would see on Amber here. It's not the same waist taper, and the lower body wise also does not have the same amount of muscle. So, you know, the key is the fullness and the shape, and then also just dialing that conditioning perfect right at the end there to pull off a perfect bikini look. Now, let's look from the back where we always tend to do, get the full story completely, as I always say on this channel. By the way, if you're watching this far and you're not subscribed, you crazy, hit the button. All right, hang out. We got a lot more coming. All right, shoulder shape, you know, on Amber, pretty solid. Showcases well. Taper into a very dramatic waist taper, even from the back. I mean, that is just key and critical in bikini. Lower body-wise, good upper glute development, pulls through here. Not a lot of that tie-in separation going on here, so very much like the former class winner, Katie, who also won the overall, where she did not have a hard tie-in, and is also winning that class over, you know, Michelle, if you remember, had a bit more of that tie-in. So, again, just really indicates a lot of changes going on in bikini criteria, if you ask me. It's a lot more of a fuller look, a lot of a softer look going on, and this is happening show after show after show after show. I mean, if you go watch the last 10 competition reviews I've done, I've said this every review because that's what's happening on stage. So we have yet to see one where very lean bikini competitors and very, you know, muscular bikini competitors are winning right now. It's just very interesting to see. So looking over here at Alicia, definitely again the very lean look, you know, still good shape overall, very on par with this division. Glute structure is pretty on point. She does showcase more of that tie, and she does showcase more hamstrings. Too lean for this class probably, right? So they definitely, again, went with a, you know, fuller, softer look in general for bikini. So for all you bikini competitors watching right now, like, that's exciting news for you. You should be excited that this is the kind of way the look is shifting right now. Especially at NPC level, where you're not going to have to prep as hard, you know, to meet the requirements that are being placed on stages today. Now, looking over here at Haley, a little bit of that shoulder shape, all good, tapers in here. Lower body does not have the same amount of development, right? So we can just see that right away. Her glutes look to be a little bit underdeveloped compared to the quads and the hamstrings, and overall, I would also rework that pose a bit to accentuate better, but that's really where she's at. Just needs some more muscle, some more shape. Overall, pretty on par with, you know, what we see in these divisions. Now, moving to another class, Class C. And sorry for the long bit. I just felt like today, let's hit all the classes. Let's just get all the info. We got 2 more left. Hang out with me. You're learning a lot. I know it. I know it. So Ellie, our class winner right here. Class C winner, Ellie. In second, Robin, and third, Angela. Okay, so again, 3 out of 3. There's 3 in this group, and that's what we're going to look at. What we can see as far as it goes, Ellie has the shape that we're talking about, very narrow waist. Again, the most narrow out of the group. So bikini competitors, be hammering that waistline, be doing your vacuums, be bringing those things through. Don't be doing a lot of ab work and weighted abs and this and that. Work on getting your waistline narrow. It is a huge advantage. She does have, you know, a shoulder shape that's been on par there. A little bit of fullness. That's great. Lower body wise, glutes, quads, hamstrings, all match. Very symmetrical physique. Maybe a tad leaner in this group than the other ones that we've seen, but you know, we look over here at Robin, a lot of muscle. Robin's got a lot of shoulder size. She's got a lot of ab density, a lot of muscle going on in this oblique, a lot of muscle lower body. So, you know, not winning this class probably based on a lot of muscle, you know, that we see in this group. And I think that that's a really important thing to take note. Bikini competitors, stop coming in over muscled right now, because it's really not being favored. It's really not. It's just kind of crazy to see how that is happening at every level. Angela over here, again, you know, has a good overall shape, very on par with the criteria of this division, what you'd see at these levels. Not as much of a waist taper, not as much development lower body, so probably for her just a little bit more muscle, a little bit more of that shape work. And again, as I always say, when we get to the back, we see it all. So from the back, these 3 athletes, again, Ellie tends to have the most dramatic shape. She's got the shoulder fullness. She tapers into the waist a lot, comes back out in the lower body. Her development is very symmetrical. It's not overdone. You know, her glutes are not overdone. Probably the least glute development on the stage of this group. But she has, you know, better symmetry. And that's really important to remember. Bikini's all about symmetry. And, you know, I think that a lot of athletes forget that. it's really all about symmetry. That's the hourglass shape. The better hourglass shape will always win on a bikini stage. Slight separation between glute hamstring tie-in, about what you would want to see for this division. And then we look over here at Robin, a lot of muscle, just a very muscled look for her. She's got a lot of muscle. I mean, like you can even see her, low lats and erectors are very hypertrophied even. So it's, again, just more muscle than this division requires at this point, and probably not what you should be, wellness may be a good consideration for her to consider moving into and or would need to downsize, right? That's basically what we see. A lot of development in the lower body, the glutes and everything there as well. Over here, Angela, we start to see a little bit more of that shoulder shape, a little bit more taper here, but not as dramatic as, obviously Ellie in the lineup. And lower body-wise needs more muscle structure, right? We need more upper glute, overall glute, pull this through a bit. Conditioning from the back could be improved here. So all major factors that you have to consider as a bikini athlete. One more class to go. All right, let's take a look. So we only have two in this group, which are two in this group are going to be Rebecca here, class winner, and then Taylor taking second. Okay, so by this point, you've already watched 3 classes with me. I think that you understand, right? Visually, you're already like, oh yeah, makes sense. So, Taylor looks like she has a little bit too much muscle, right? And that's, again, being kind of favored just across the board, this look where Rebecca has the shoulder fullness where you would need it, tapers in good, lower body is in muscle shape, everything is symmetrical. I can't even talk anymore because I've said symmetry so many times in this video today. I can't even say it again, but symmetry is the key. It is king and queen for bikini division right now, and you really want to be focused on that. Taylor looks like, she has a little bit too much muscle going on, a bit more of not a dramatic taper in the midsection, more muscle in the lower body. Very on par conditioning-wise to each other, but clearly some different shapes, which you got to consider for bikini. It's all about the shape, especially this season, this year so far. And I think we will only see this get more and more as we go. Looking here, Rebecca, definitely, one of the leaner athletes of our class winners, but not as much muscle overall. Still a good taper. Glute structure's there. The shape is all there. That tie-in, slight separation, all good. Definitely leaner. Like I said, she doesn't win the overall, but she wins this class out of 2, which, makes sense because Taylor is more muscled. She has a lot more of that shoulder size up top, less of a dramatic taper, and, a lot of density here where the quads could appear to be a little bit mismatched to the glutes. So very clear markers from judges, everybody. Very clear markers. Bikini is returning to its roots. It is a very interesting, exciting time for bikini division. I think it's the right move. I'm really happy to see it because I was getting, a lot of athletes that were very, confused by the criterion, like why are bikini competitors getting so big? Why are they getting so large up top? Why do they have such big shoulders at this point? Well, we're seeing changes, mass across the board. I really hope it continues. Obviously, very early season, hard to say, but with every single show that's happened thus far, even the Arnold, we're seeing these same messages being echoed across the board. So very interesting time right now and a great time to be prepping for bikini. So get in it, get ready, get on stage. It is the time. Time is now. Let's pull the trigger. Thanks for watching. Coach Ryan is out.